because I even was the asylum case. And now I'm having a marriage one at this point. And the kid is going up the age. What happens?
So, I mean, you're saying you canceled or like withdrew your asylum application, right?
Yes, right.
So that's all gone. So now, if you, so the derivative asylum for the I-730 applies only if you got your asylum that way. Now you're getting it through the green card, through your spouse, right?
Right.
So that's not going to be logged in. There's no date for him to be logged in.
Okay, so what happens now that at what age are they going to stop considering that one child?
They're not going to consider it any age. So I guess at the time that you become a green card holder. So a couple of questions. Did you get married to a U.S. citizen?
Yes.
Okay. And did you get married to a U.S. citizen before your child turned 18?
Yes.
So technically, okay, then I would look into seeing if maybe your husband can file a petition for him right now. Because as long as you are under age 18, you consummate the marriage, your husband will legally be found to be the step-parent, the legal step-parent of your child, and he will be able to petition him directly right now, without waiting for you to get the green card.
Before we can go to the interview, both the two of us can be invited for an interview. You can petition for the child.
So you're here in the United States, right?
Right.
Okay. Where's the child?
In Uganda.
Okay, so before your interview, yes, we can get started, because legally speaking, if a child is under 18 and the parents marry before they reach the age of 18, then that other step-parent becomes the legal child of that, the legal parent of that child, and therefore he can petition him directly. You don't have to wait for you to get your green card. Your son might get the green card before you do.
Oh. Okay. So I just have to go see a lawyer or something?
Yeah, that's what I would suggest. You just have to see, you know, when did the marriage happen, and at what time, and then if your husband is willing to petition him directly.
Okay. I'm sorry I came in late. Do we have your address and everything? I know I can get it from the president.
Yeah, you can.
It's also, if you scroll up on the chat box, yeah, that there should be more information.
And for those who want more information regarding Mr. Danish, I have all the information and I can pass it to you. But also, if you're on this Zoom workshop, you can find the information in the chat room. And yes, I have a question to.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
I have a question sent in by one of our members in the community. It says, the hospitals are bringing in nurses from all over the world right now because of the possibly the shortage of nurses, and those nurses are being filed to get the status. And now, this person says, being that I've graduated to be an RN and my status is in limbo, can I be able to file my case again through that window of nurses as well?
Has this person filed for asylum,
This
or how long have they been without status?
This person filed for asylum for a longer time, but I guess, you know, there are people who have filed asylum and maybe they're on deportation list or something like that. So they don't know what is going on, but they have went ahead and studied and they're RN nurses.
Yeah, no. I know there's many people who are educated and they come here, they don't have any degree, and they end up being registered nurses, and that's amazing.
Right.
As far as whether or not they can change their status for this nursing program, we'd have to see if they were eligible. So did they get a deportation order? Are they just still waiting for their asylum interview? We'd have to look into all those details before we can move forward on something like that.
For a person who sent me that question, probably just wanted to be anonymous, but I would request you, if you can, schedule an appointment with Mr. Danish, and probably he will have to go through your case and see where your status is. probably you can get started from there. Because some of you're giving us those kind of questions, but it's just the basic kind of question.
Yeah, and if you'd like, maybe you can just send me an email. I can refer you to another, because I don't do employment-based. So a lot of the nurses, things like that, it'd probably be better you speak to an employment immigration attorney to see how they can help you change your status in that regard. But a lot of times, just so everybody knows that employment-based, like the individual who said, now I have a big business and things like that. The issue with that is a lot of times, if you're not in a legal, like if you just came on your tourist visa and then you decide to change status, you can do a lot of the employment things. But once your visa has expired or your time to stay here has expired, it's very difficult to change to other statuses with regards to employment most of the time. It changes because like when people say, oh, I got married to a US citizen, how am I able to do that? Because there's a lot of different, for US citizens, they give them a little bit more benefits. But if you're not married to a US citizen, it is more difficult to just change into like an H-1B or different type of employment status.
Exactly. There are two questions here. I'm going to combine them. A brother is asking, they went for the interview, LGBT case, and was sent to immigration hearing, but he hasn't received the hearing date yet. He thinks it's taking way too long. Can they file for an expedition? And then secondly, because it's in the same bracket, if I'm unfiled as LGBT and my case was denied and sent to an immigration judge, can they marry and file for green card?
Absolutely. I mean, same-sex couples have been accepted for the last 5-6 years now. So if you get married to a same-sex couple or husband and wife, you're equally able to apply for a green card on that basis as long as they're a U.S. citizen. And you had valid entry when you came. You were inspected and admitted.
Mr. Todos also asked a question. How much is the consultation fee?
So if you mentioned that you are with Mr. Haruna and you attended this workshop, I will waive the consultation fee.
So you have an opportunity for whoever is on this conference or workshop. If you would love to meet Mr. Danish in his office, please just mention my name or just let him know that you are part of the workshop. That consultation will be waived. And also, you can schedule an appointment with him. You don't just have to walk in.
Yeah, please schedule appointments. We don't do walk-ins.
Yeah, they don't do walk-ins. He's a very busy man, I know. But when you schedule an appointment, at least he has higher chances of seeing you. Mr. Danish, I've had a couple of some leaders of our community. Ugandan community is a very big community.
Yeah.
And one of the leaders of the organization that is an umbrella that unites the Ugandans in North America, including Canada, just sent in a question saying, is it possible for you to organize another form of a workshop like this for Ugandans in diaspora? Diaspora meaning?
Yeah, outside of the country.
Yes, all of us, because this was kind of a short notice. I'm so actually amazed that we have such a big number.
Yeah, it's very
But this is a burning issue to most of our Ugandan community. And as you know, it is still something that they have. Most of them, they don't know because they have been lacking that kind of information. So, my fellow Ugandans, lawyers are also different. They have different kind of field, like the one we just mentioned of the work.
Employment
lawyers. Some of you go to employment lawyers and miss out so many things. Please try to reach out to your leaders for the rightful lawyers to be able to help. Because I get cases whereby someone called me yesterday when they heard that you're going to be appearing today, and she told me she had paid a lawyer who disappeared with her money. And I said, well, I'm sorry for such an incident, but I wish you had contacted your leaders or friends, because I know you have a lot of clients in our community, and that's why I picked the interest to bring you in, that because at least you are familiar with
and
the situation in Uganda.
and we can guide someone like that, you know,
Yes.
to make a complaint, because that's obviously theft, you know, and shouldn't happen, that they should report that.
Yes, I worked, I went through Mr. Danish's office back in 2009. So that's how long I've known him, and I've referred a lot of my fellow community members to his offices, and their cases have been handled fairly well, and actually you have a very good recommendation. Most of the people I send to you, when they come back to me, you have well attended them, you're always on their cases. So thank you so much, Mr. Danish, for showing up and being with us today.
Thank you.
And also to let you know, members of the community, we are live on Diaspora Connect UG for those who would love to join in live. The Zoom is going to stay on as well because we need to get to your questions. But we are also live. I'll be sending you the link so that you get to see each and everything that is going on. Those cameras are on. They're watching you all over the world, probably. Some could be in Uganda. Yeah, go ahead and express your concern, send in your question. It could be in the chat room. You could send me messages directly for those who have my contact. And for those who are on Zoom, please raise your hand. We can always let you speak up whatever you want to say. But just to remind you, it's going to be the basic. If you want to go into details or if something is personal, hold on to it. We'll share the information in the chat room for Mr. Danish. You can always see him privately or one-on-one so that you can be able to go into depth of your cases. We don't want to know each and everything that happens to you, but at least we're here to share. Mr. Danish is here to share the knowledge to you, my fellow community members. So please feel free, come in, ask your question, and be brief so that at least everybody gets a chance to say something or to hear from Mr. Danish. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna answer Jamila Namatovu. Thank you for asking a question. So you said in 2013 you filed for asylum. You were scheduled for your interview in 2017. Your attorney couldn't make it that day. Since then you haven't been called. What can we do, right? So it's gonna go back to the same things. Expedited requests, right, based on financial or humanitarian basis. One thing that I did forget to mention on another thing is sometimes your local asylum office may offer a standby list. That means that you can put your name on a list. You know, usually your attorney will do it. I've done it for many of my clients, but it has to be open for your asylum office. For the Tustin, the one in Tustin, the Los Angeles Asylum Office, they had it briefly open, I think at the end of last year, earlier this year. It was a very short window. I was able to get like a couple requests in, but it was a little difficult. And they did interview some of them, and some of them they didn't even interview, but that's another thing that you should also, you can contact your asylum office and see if they have a standby list. If they have a standby list, then you know it's an opportunity to say, hey, I want my interview right away. They may interview you like 2 days. They may send you your interview notice in literally 2 days from the interview. So it's something that if you're ready to go, you want to be heard, and I know people are calling from all over the country. So I would contact your local asylum office or ask your attorney if the standby list is open by chance. Another green card option while asylum is pending in court. For example, I got an employer willing for me. So again, for employment, you should really talk to an immigration attorney who focuses on employment type H-1B visas. It's going to be a little bit difficult because it's not the same as if when you're marrying a U.S. citizen.
I have GQ who says if I have a lawyer and want to remove your files from them, can they mess you up? I think this is something I have to emphasize on. A lawyer, when you hire a lawyer, it is you who is the boss of the lawyer, I guess. Because if someone wants to shift their case from one lawyer to another, let's say the lawyer is not doing their job right.
You can always switch attorneys, but it's always something to think about, right? You don't want to just do it in the maybe right. I mean, it really depends, right? You want to make sure that you're going to talk to your new attorney to see if it's a good, if it's even advisable to switch attorneys at that moment. So it really depends, every case. But yes, you as a client always have the authority to say, I don't want to pursue or continue with this attorney, I want to go with somebody else.
But my advice would be that come see the lawyer. For example, you have a lawyer you have worked with before, and now you feel like you want to change your case to Mr. Danish. Schedule an appointment, see Mr. Danish, let him go through your case and see where it is, and then he will advise you how to go over about it, I guess. So don't just dump or close it. See the lawyer before you take any action.
Yes, talk to the new attorneys. Interview your new attorney before you're going to just say, I'm quitting my other attorney, I'm going to the new one. Because sometimes, you know, maybe the other attorney is doing a good job. You just need to see, you know, obviously as a client, you don't have the same experience. You're like, oh, what's really going on? Is everything going well? I'm not sure. Because I tell you this because it's a very long process. Sometimes it's out of the attorney's hands as far as what we can do to get the interview done or not. So, but it's always good to, yeah, you can always seek an opinion from someone else. You can always request a copy of your file and go see someone else and see if, you know, they have something else to input. But I wouldn't do it because it's taking too long. Because you're not going to get a new result. I've told people that a lot of times. I'm like, okay, you want me to take it? Maybe, you know, you'll have a better relationship with me, you'll be happier. But overall, will I give a different result? Maybe not, you know. So I think it's really important that you find that out with your new attorney to see that, you know, is that the best decision to make? Because you also have to look at the financial side, right? You spent money on one attorney. You can't expect that they're going to return all the money and then start with, it's just not going to happen. And then the next one's going to charge you a lot of money too. So you've got to see like, oh, is it worth it? Does it make sense for everything? Or is it just because of, you know, we want to get that asylum hearing right away, you know?
I guess you got your answer. Please see a lawyer or schedule an appointment, see him so that he can advise you to how you can go about your case. Don't just, you know, close the case without consulting. Banan, we need your questions. I don't know if all your questions are answered, but go ahead and send in your question. Mr. Danish gave us his time to iron out what is burning on your hearts. And for personal cases or personal information you feel like you can't share, please go on in the chat room, you'll find the information, or reach out to me. I can always direct you so you can make an appointment and see him in person. I see Martin Carlos here. Do you want to say something?
Sure, yeah. I want to address one question. So someone is asking, my case was denied by an immigration judge. I filed an appeal and it has been 2 years. Can a lawyer help me get a work permit? This gets complicated, okay? So usually you need before it was 180 days from the date of your asylum application so you can file for the work permit. Now it's 365 days. Now that you are in, I would assume, the Board of Immigration Appeals, you can't really just go back and try to get that time for that asylum application. So it does get a little bit complicated, and I think you know, an attorney would have to really look into it to see whether or not they'd be able to get you that work permit, even though you're filing your appeal with the board. So I would, yeah, suggest that you talk to somebody so you can really see what should be done in that situation.
There is also a question. Someone says, can someone with a green card holder marry and get a green card too?
So yes. So let's say, you know, someone has a green card, they want to petition you, you came in with inspection and admission. since that person is not a U.S. citizen, you'd actually have to that person would have to go back to their consulate and get their green card. They wouldn't be able to do it in the country. If the petitioner becomes a U.S. citizen and the beneficiary has a valid entry into the United States, then they would be able to do the whole green card process here. But if not, then they would be required to go back to Kampala, or nowadays they're also sending people to Nairobi to get their interview done for their green card.
Yes, Carlos Martin, you raised your hand. You can go ahead and unmute yourself so we can hear from you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Haruna. My question is really a quick one, because I just wanted to ask, I went in for an interview at the back end of February, but I haven't received a response up until now. So I'm asking, what are my chances? Like, what do I need to do?
Patiently wait. For the most part, I've had people also, even with this new instruction from Trump, where he's doing the interviews first, right, for the people who filed recently, and the decisions are just waiting. My best suggestion is, I guess, well, you know, file your work permit, continue getting your work permits. Biden is working on trying to improve the asylum process. We do have, you know, some legislation they're working on that, you know, maybe all these people who are waiting for their work, for their asylum, that we might get an opportunity to get straight green cards, you know. But it's all, right now, it's all speculation, you know. 1 week, you know, Congress is moving things in the right way, the other week it's not. But in your case specifically, I would just say, yeah, the main thing is asking for that work permit. You already got the interview. The other thing would be you could file that mandamus to see. Mandamus is basically filing a lawsuit against the government, saying that please make a decision on my case. You know, it's outside of the time period that it should. But I have people from maybe even 2 or 3 years who've already had their interview and we're still waiting for decisions.
My interview wasn't an asylum. I married a US citizen.
Focus more on the cameras, not here, because the cameras are not on this.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it was a marriage based?
Yeah, it's a married based.
And how long had you been married to your spouse?
Since 2019.
How did the interview go? Did they separate you in the interview?
Yeah, of course they separated us.
Okay, so that's not always something they do. They probably had some suspicion that it wasn't a bona fide marriage. So on marriage cases, they're trying to see if it's a true and valid marriage. And in a lot of cases, what I'm thinking is your case might be under investigation. But I'm not 100% sure, but if there's any suspicion that they don't think it's a valid marriage, they will hold a case like they are holding yours. And my experience is when they hold a marriage case this long, there's suspicions that it's not a valid marriage, and they might send investigators to the home to see if it's a valid marriage, that the both partners are living in the same place, and that there's everything that they're saying is true. And they usually come at a time when you'll never think about it, when everything's calm, 8 months, a year, 2 years later, or something like that, and they'll just show up.
Okay. Because I was thinking if they would come, like, it's been too long since February.
Oh, no, they wait. They're not going to send someone right away because they're trying to investigate.
Okay.
Before I get
But
to...
I would continue collecting more documents to show that you're in a valid marriage, joint documents, you know, bank statements, lease agreements, everything, you know, to show that it's.
Thank you.
You're
You're
welcome.
Okay, Mr. Danish, there's something you keep saying. I don't remember the time where you saw the government. Can you please reassure Ugandans, because we are scared of those kind of things. You tell Ugandans to sue a government, it's not going to happen. Are there repercussions? I need you to reassure this.
No. So I don't do that usually. This is something that I think there's a few attorneys that I've talked to, and they're trying to develop this, where you can file a lawsuit against the government. And I know, yeah, that sounds scary, right? But basically, you're trying to move them on the case. You know, the thing is that's not always giving us positive results. So that's why I'm saying my suggestion is basically, you know, hold tight as much as you can. We have a great president now who's in favor of this, you know. 1 year ago, I would be talking totally different, right? We had a president who was against us, who did not want us to be in this country. They wanted us to be out. They, like all immigrants, they didn't want us to live here. But we do. We were with Biden now, and I don't have that same concern, you know. My main concern is that, you know, I know a lot of my clients have children and family back home that they've been separated for so many years, and it's so difficult for them to stay in those relationships and live here, and while most of their family back home in Uganda is apart. And I know that's the biggest thing. But as far as like people being removed, I mean, Biden has been saying it. If you're not going to commit like a violent offense, you're going to stay here, you know. So it's just a matter of figuring out how we're going to keep you guys, everybody here in the meantime, until we can hopefully get some type of reform. And I'm hoping, you know, a lot of people won't even have to go through their asylum interviews, and hopefully they can get their green card some other way, and we can move on with our lives.
Before I go to you, the poet of the 21st century, I have to go back to the chat room because we have a couple of questions in there. So Mr. Danish can be able to answer them. We have a question from a gentleman who says, hello, my asylum case was denied by an immigration judge. I filed an appeal and it has been 2 years. Can the lawyer help me get a work permit? So for such questions, I would recommend.
I answered that one.
You did answer?
Yeah.
Okay. Still, I would recommend you to seek an appointment to Mr. Danish. You will be helped for sure. And we have another question. If I have a work permit and I wish to go back to school, can you get admitted in any school, and can you apply for financial aid and get it? So that one, I guess Mr. Danish can be able. If someone is in the asylum process, you know that he hasn't been approved, he's still on a work permit and a social, and they want to go back to school. Do those people qualify for student aid or grants?
So you're going to have to see, for the most part. A lot of times FAFSA, you will not qualify for many things, but within your state, you will have different benefits for schooling, for financial aid. I usually tell my clients to investigate that a little bit more. I personally don't have too much information. The only thing I can say is that FAFSA usually doesn't qualify. It only qualifies people who are legal permanent residents or U.S. citizens for the most part. But California, for example, has a lot of benefits for people who are not documented, or maybe even refugee applicants, that I would look into those different programs. Do I really need a social security card for my EIN? So EIN is what?
EIN is
employment identification number.
That is for the businesses. For someone who wants to.
Yes, usually you do need a social security number to get an employment identification number. I know that's something that usually people were like, oh, I don't have, you know, documents. How do I get my business going? And it's difficult because a lot of times they just have to file. They do the ITIN to get their tax identification number.
Also, the other question is, hello, Mr. Haruna, thank you so much. And Haruna, the UCOS president, this is important information you guys are sharing with us. My question is, if I have an asylum case pending, is it possible to withdraw and apply for marriage? Once again, thank you. I guess this kind of a question, Mr. Danish answered it.
Yeah, no, but that's fine. So for people who applied for asylum, got married to a U.S. citizen, the best advice I can tell them is proceed with your marriage case. Do not withdraw your asylum case. The procedure now is if you withdraw your asylum case, you will be referred automatically to immigration court. So keep that open, and then I think we skipped one. There was one, I think, I don't know if this is Grace Cataraga. Catarega. Nice talking to you. If I change state and I want to transfer my case to my new state, what does it take and what's your advice? So if you change your case to a different state, it will be put in the back of their line. So you're taking yourself out of this line to get an asylum interview, and you're putting it in back of another line in another state. Another thing is your case will be adjudicated based on the jurisdiction you are in. What I mean by that is that different parts of the country follow different types of asylum law. Some parts of the country are a little bit more strict. California has one of the best probably asylum laws in the country. Let's say if you went to Texas, for example, they have very difficult asylum laws that don't favor immigrants, unfortunately. California, on the other hand, has pretty good circuit court law. So it's something to really think about before making that move, because if you do change states, you may be under different types of immigration laws, and that could negatively impact your case.
One question before I get to you, the gentleman who raised his hand. I have another question here which says, I filed for asylum and I was told everything is perfect by the person who interviewed me. But she said her supervisor was to make the final decision. Since then, my application has been pending. Can a lawyer help me figure out what is going on with my case? For that one, I would say yes, the lawyer can be able to help you. If you schedule an appointment with him, he has to go through your case and he can be advised, he can give you the advice depending on how the case looks like. So you please go ahead, schedule an appointment with Mr. Danish. The information is in the chat room. His contacts, his email, and if you can't find it, you can always reach out to me. I have his information. I can always share that information with you. Now, the gentleman, thank you for being patient. You can mute yourself and please go ahead straight to your question.
Hello, that was in fact my question, but I have a second question.
Go ahead.
So, is there anything affecting my case since I switched from California to Washington?
You switched this when?
March 2020, that's when I switched from there to here.
Are you Grace?
No, this is Edward.
Oh, Edward. Okay, so you switched your case before the interview?
No, I didn't switch my case. I just changed the states. I don't know if I have to change the case. I don't know about that procedure. I don't know.
So everyone is required to notify the asylum office within, I believe, 10 days of their change of where they are. And they will change your location of the case from California to Washington as soon as that happens.
They do it automatically? Once I change my address, they do it automatically? That's what happens?
Yes, but you do need to notify them.
Yeah, I did notify them. So now the second question.
And then they should have transferred it, and then they should have told you that your case is now going to proceed out of, I think, the Seattle office or.
No, they never did.
I would follow through with that then. I would contact maybe the Los Angeles office or call the asylum office in Washington and see, has my case been transferred?
Okay.
You want to make sure that they know exactly where you are, because if they send you a notice, you don't go to the interview, they're going to refer you to court, and then they're going to send you to immigration proceedings. So you want to make sure that they always have your current information as soon as possible.
Okay, I get it. So I have a second question as well.
Sure.
Go ahead, sir.
I would like to have a travel document all the way back, to a nearby country, because I have some contacts back home. But I'm afraid it takes forever when you apply. So I don't know if I go through a lawyer. Do you have any way to expedite the process?
Not anything different than what you would do. If you need an expedite request, that would be a separate request. So first you have to request it, and then I would submit something also saying that I need an expedite request, and then the basis for that request.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's all I had to ask. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your question. And please, I encourage you to continue sending in your question through the chat room, or send private messages for those who have my contact. And for those also who can ask your question directly to Mr. Danish, so that you can be answered. I don't want to leave here and then you guys call me and start asking me questions I can't be able to answer. So you have this opportunity this morning, this evening, wherever you are, to ask whatever question you want. And if it is too personal, my advice would be, the information is there. You have a lawyer, maybe go direct to your lawyer. If you feel like you're getting interested in knowing more about Mr. Danish, please find the information in the chat room and send an email to him. He has his number. I guess that is the office number. You can always call that office number in office hours or during the weekdays. Don't call that number on weekend or at night. You might not be able to.
Yeah, you just leave a voicemail or something.
Even though I have the privilege that I have his cell phone, I can always text him at any given time, knowing that he will respond to me. So that is good. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Please send in your questions. Abalina ebibuuzo nga mwandyagadde okubuuza oba kiri mu Luganda, I can try to interpret that question. Feel free.
I'm going to go to the car and fast forward.
Yes, please. Mr. Danish, afulumyemuko katono. But first of all, I want to thank you guys for showing up in big number, and I also want to encourage you to tune in on Diaspora Connect TV. UG is live as well. You can as well as tune in, and you will be watching what is going on live. Do you have anything you would love to share?
I think, I think with what is happening with most people's cases, but right now, we are not lawyers. I'm having people in the inbox right now, their issues. Instead of consulting a lawyer, none of the stuff we use to apply on the I saw people, but they print out their entire passports. They were finding the passport I didn't know those things. So it's better to consult lawyers than us.
Okay.
Maybe fee, the password for the consultation fee any waived. So Ogama meeting Zoom Uganda, and that's it.
Yes. Also, I'm glad that Madam President Yuna is with us this morning, this afternoon, East Coast time. I just wanted also, while Mr. Danish afulumyemuko okuyisawo akalango kano. Bannayuganda mwenna abakungaanira mu Greater Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Diego, and other counties, Ventura, and wherever you are, on this very month, October, the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, tugenda kubeera ne delegation eva ku Washington DC oba Munira from Uganda. Abo bonna bandyagadde okubanga mu applying for a national ID. Mukimanyi bulungi nti naffe bw'oba olina green card oba you've transited to a citizenship, naye nga toyina national ID ye Uganda, you can barely access most services in Uganda. More especially if you have a bank account, you can't access it with the American passport or the American green card. You require to have a national ID. Even if you have to do some transfers on your land or your projects you do, you require to have one. So we are among the people who are blessed to have those services this very month on the 22nd, 23rd, and the 24th. I will be sending out the flyers. The flyers will be circulating around. naye njagadde nkozesa omukisa guno okubategeeza mukubire abakulembeze bammwe musobole okuba nga you register yourself because delegation eno egenda kubeera well facilitated, so they don't want to come down here nga tulinawo abantu babiri oba basatu. So they requesting us leaders, especially the local leaders, to get the numbers of those who are interested before they send that delegation. Okumanya nti at least they have a substantial number for them to send the delegation, because for those 3 days they're going to be with us here, basula mu hotel, batambula, and a lot of equipments will be sent in with them. So please reach out to all your local leaders. It could be me, it could be Madame Susan, it could be anybody, you know, my Vice President, Madame Elizabeth Semakula, the Secretary General of our organization, Mwami Paulo Sembajwe, oba Mwami Dennis Chizito Buye, to register your name and show the interest that you want to register for the national ID, Enanga Muntu. I'm going to be giving out the requirements, oba chichicho wetaga okuba nacho. And some of the requirements, wetaga, one, your birth certificate, and you have to have your old passport, because they have to verify that you are a national, or you are a national of a Ugandan descent. Tutwagala kufuna ba Nigeria oba ba West Africans nga beita bana Uganda. So you have to have your birth certificate, you have to have your old passport, and also they require you to have a recommendation letter from your parents. Bwe baba nga bazadde bo bakyaliyo nga balamu, please try to find out how you can get that letter from them. Bobanga tobalina, they're asking you to reach out to your local LC chairman. Basobole okubawa recommendation letter eyo. Kibagezaako kola kwe kwewala fraud in that. We are trying to avoid the fraud. So those are some of the requirements, of which some of them I'm trying to lobby with Madam President and Madam Henrietta. Okulaba obanga embassy esobola okukakanyamu, because some of us, we have been here for so many years and we don't know who is the chairman. Even the chairman doesn't know you. And some of us, we have lost our parent as well. So that one I cannot guarantee, but we are trying to see if there is any way they can waive that. But as well, they are trying to avoid the fraud in this. So kano kabadde kalango kyenjagadde okubategeeza ng'ennaku z'omwezi 22, 23 ne 24 this very month, we're going to be registering for those who are interested to have Ugandan national ID. Thank you so much, and I will be playing that over and over, so for you guys to get to know that it's going to happen this very month. I'll be circulating the flyer. I'll be giving you the information that is needed. And if at all, Madam President, if you have a moment and you want to elaborate more on that, please let me know so that you can be given a chance to pass that information to our community members. And also you can let them know after California which other states you will be going to, so that those people can also get a chance to apply for the national ID. Just to remind you, we are live on Diaspora Connect UG. You can follow their YouTube or Facebook if you want to be to see us live and see what is going on. Be part of this. Mr. Danish is back. For those who wants to ask you questions, let's get back to topics of the migration, and that is the process. That's the reason to why we are here this morning, this afternoon. And I'm pretty sure we have a couple of people from different states. You're more welcome. And we will be organizing such workshops periodically for you guys to be aware and know the rightful people you have to deal with, and how. You can always be advised as long as you reach out to your leaders, reach out to the right people who can give you the information that you require, other than making mistakes or get robbed by fake lawyers. We have so many fake lawyers in our community. Try to reach out to those people you know, and they have references. They have been in our communities. So Mr. Danish is back. You guys, if he has something to say, he's going to say it, as well as you guys prepare your questions. He's ready, and he's with us up to 2 o'clock this evening. Thank you very much, my fellow Ugandans community. Oh, yes, I have a question from the audience. Please spare with us a moment. Yes, Madam Pros.
You're talking about
What they are asking for that, I'm sorry, Madame Pros is asking, the question is regarding the national ID, it's nothing to do with the immigration. I guess Madame Henrietta Nairuba, the question is, in Africa, when someone dies, let's say your parent died, and you have the heir, omuntu aba yasikira taata wo, oba maama wo, yetasobola kufunira baluwa eyo. So I think I'll pose that question directly to Madame Nairuba. I know she's here, she's listening, and she will come in at a later time to answer your question, Madame Pros. Thank you very much. Let's get back to the migration workshop. The gentleman is here with us. Please go ahead and send in your questions. Thank you very much.
Kasai is asking a question about filing for a marriage based in May 19 of this year. When will they get their work permit? To be honest, my most recent green card applications, I've been getting the interview scheduled before the work permit. Before, it used to be about 6 months from the time that you file for your residency through your marriage, that about 6 months if you submit your I-765 at the same time, you should get your work permit. Recently, I've been getting my interviews for the green card before I get the work permit, so more than likely, Kesai, you might get the interview very soon. I've been getting my marriage-based interviews based on U.S. citizens almost 6 months to 9 months after filing, so they're coming by pretty quickly.
I have a question in the chat room, and that question came from Mr. Abubakar Mulumba. Can you please put those requirements down here? Please. Yes, the requirements will be circulated. After this workshop, I will be circulating those requirements to the local community chat platforms on our websites or WhatsApps. Mujja kuba muzifuna zonna ze mwetaaga. Bob obuuziza, the local LC does not know how to write my village. Sometime banaye munsonyiwe oluzungu oluwandikiddwa lunema okusoma, but this is something we're going to have to communicate at a later time. I just wanted to sneak this message to you so that you know what we are cooking in the back. After this workshop, we have a national ID for Ugandans. Mr. Danish, this is something you don't know, but when you go to Uganda these days with your American passport or green card, you cannot access your bank account in Uganda, you cannot access other things you'd love to access without that. So we're bringing that service to our people as well who are here, even though you are a citizen in America, but when you have an account in Uganda, you're required to have the national ID. So I was trying to pass that information to them, that 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of this month, I have contacted the embassy through the office of the Madam President of the organization that takes us in diaspora, the UNA, and we're trying to lobby those people, and the Foreign Affairs, they have accepted our request. They're going to be sending in a team from NERA to come down to California. We're so lucky that we are the first community that they have sent the team from NERA to come and help our fellow Ugandans. And for those who applied for your national ID back in UNA, if you have attended UNAs in the previous cases, make sure you come with that information, and make sure you go to the website on the embassy website, cross-check your name and see, because nawuliddeko Madam President ng'angamba mulimu abantu aba applyinga naye nga you're missing some information, and that information was sent back. Check your email or go to the website. Kubanga mulimu omuntu agamba nti I applied for my national ID back in 2017, up to now I haven't got it. That means wateko kubanga waliwo some information that is missing and you have not cross-checked to make sure that you have filled it right. Oba ezimu ziyinza okubanga zajja, but you've never followed up with that. So make sure you go to the website of the embassy, or reach out to the UNA president to guideline you, to give you the guidelines of how you can find that information. And as I said, I'll be giving you all the details as we go. But let's close this workshop, and at a later time I'll be sharing that kind of information. Let's get back to the immigration workshop. Mr. Danish is here and ready to answer all your questions. Please, I won't be answering your question after this, because at least now I have brought you the person who deals with such cases, such situations, and each and everything you want to ask, please go ahead and ask him. Don't ask me. The reason why I requested for the gentleman to be here, because I could not answer most of your questions. What I did or what I went through back in the days when I filed, it has changed to date. So I might be giving you wrong information. Now you have the gentleman. The gentleman has worked in so many cases in our community. That one, I can testify on it. There are so many people in our community who have gone through Mr. Danish's office and they have been so successful. Some cases have been in court, but he has managed to overcome all that, and our people are joyful now, are very happy, and they are enjoying having the status. So please, ask Mr. Danish for any question you feel you want, and if it's personal or private, schedule an appointment with him.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I have one question from iPhone. Our court dismissed cases count during green card application adjustment of status? Do they affect the case? So from what I'm understanding is if you got a dismissed case, I need to see what that means. As long as the dismissal happened before you entered your plea, if you never entered a plea of guilty or no contest, then it should be dismissed for immigration purposes. But if they arrested you during the application process, they will probably ask you about that arrest or the charges brought against you, and you will have to explain to them and provide them court documentation to show that it was dismissed. And then Kasai also asked another question. His brother back home in Uganda is a U.S. citizen. Can he go to the American embassy in Uganda to get his ID, California ID? No. His California ID would have to be applied for at a DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles, in the state of California. The embassy would maybe be able to assist with getting a passport or documentation to prove citizenship, but they won't be able to assist you with getting a driver's license for a specific state.
Mr. Danish, I have something. I would actually request you, what advice would you give to my fellow community members wherever they are, more especially to those who are in the process? What to avoid? What might sabotage their getting citizenship or applying their asylum or going through the marriage and whatever? Because these are things that we oversee, and when time comes, you find that you are being blocked to get your citizenship because of something very minor, of which if you are advised before, it is something you would have avoided.
Honesty, 100%. You need to be as honest as you can on all of your immigration applications. I know you may say, oh, but how will they know, or what will they know, and you know, all of that. It's just a matter of consistency, because you're going to apply for one application, then in a few years you may apply for another one. You want to make sure that everything's consistent and you're being as honest as possible, even if there was maybe some untruths that happened previously, because that's what really, once your credibility is hurt as far as whether or not they can believe you on what you're saying, it really defeats most of your application. So try to be as honest as possible. If you have issues that you think are like, oh, well, you know what, I have this criminal offense, or I've been arrested, or this is what happened, or I filed an application with this information, now I want to do this. You want to definitely talk to a professional attorney about those details. But one of the biggest things that affects most clients is that they're not being honest from the beginning. So it's just better to be as forthcoming and tell the truth about what happened in your cases, so that once they see that you're being honest about that, they'll it'll help your case overall.
Also, would you please also add your voice to my voice? My fellow community members, avoid drinking and driving. That also can be a problem, I guess. Avoid domestic violence, or engaging yourself to things that you know might cause.
So I was actually talking about this with friends yesterday. My cup of tea every day is, and not my cup of tea, but what happens so often, and for many clients that reach me in the end, is oh, I had a couple drinks and I drove, or I got in domestic violence. The root of that is honestly is alcoholism, and that's an issue that goes through every community, unfortunately. So it's something that I don't think people need to realize that, like, oh, I don't need to be drinking and driving. I think they need to reach, or I don't need to be entering into disputes with my spouse. It's really going back and seeing that you have an issue maybe with alcohol and you can't control yourself when you drink. Because that's what leads you to get the DUI, the domestic violence, the fight with your friends, the things that will get you out of your mind. So that's one thing that I see across all cultures.
I think you've heard it from the lawyer himself. Avoid drinking and driving because that can sabotage your process. Avoid domestic violence and stuff like that. If you really feel like you're so upset with your spouse or a friend of yours or somebody, just walk away. We know why we're here. We have so much reason to what brought us here. The gentleman in the audience, please try to lower your voices. Yes, I'm going to take this opportunity to call upon Madame Henrietta, the president of UNA, to clarify on some of the questions I have in the chat room regarding the national ID application. If you have a moment, please come on, unmute yourself and be part of this session. Let us know. Let my people know what do they need, what they require to be able to apply for the national ID, and also guide those who applied before, in the previous conventions we've been to. Madame Henrietta, you are online. Please go ahead. Yes. In the meantime, Mr. Danish is talking to the people in the audience regarding their case. Let Madame Nairuba give us a little bit of some info on what is needed. Madame Nairuba, Mai.
Yes, Mr. President, I'm on.
Yes, please.
Sorry, I was somewhere where it was noisy.
Okay.
And I kind of had to step away.
It's okay.
Thank you so much for putting this together.
Yes.
It was a really an informative education session and very much related for communities. And we shared it able to come in. I know a lot of people have unique questions for the lawyer. Like Mr. President and Madam Mai are retaliated. Make an appointment and have your questions answered specifically to your needs. And also let us try not to engage our fellow Ugandans in our immigration processes, because sometimes people do mislead others and people end up making mistakes on their applications and even can ruin their statuses forever and find it more hard to even straighten your papers later in the game. When it comes to the Ndagamuntu drive, we have been given an option of 2 drives in the city, and we kind of decided to target where the most need has been coming to us from your communities to UNA. The first need was the California area. They've been asking for this for almost 2 years. So the NERA folks will be in your area, as your president has let you know. That will be the week of the 22nd, 23rd, 24th. And from there, they will go to Minnesota on the week of the 15, 16, 17, 18. When you go to those places to get your documents done, make sure that you have the requirements that will be shared. Do not go and maybe miss the birth certificate. Do not go and miss, let's say, someone who's advocating that you're Ugandan. In this case, they're asking for your parents' copy of ID. In case your parents are dead, like Mr. President said, you can get a copy from the LC1 of your village, wherever you come from. If you cannot be able to get them, we are asking the embassy to see if they can actually advocate for you and say that you are a Ugandan. In order for them to do that, you have to give them the requirements to show that you are Ugandan, meaning you must show them either your passport or a birth certificate. So I would strongly recommend that you contact the embassy if you don't have, let's say, a copy of your parents' ID before that visit happens. If possible, start contacting them as early as Monday to say, hey, my parents are dead. I'm unable to get these requirements, but are you able to advocate for me so that I get an advocacy letter from you as the embassy? Here is a copy of my Ugandan passport. Remember, no American document is going to be used to get your Dagamoto done. You must submit your Ugandan documents. And that all that information will be listed on the flyer that will be shared by President Haruna, President Kwizera, and here from Minnesota. So that's what we have for you from UNA, and we are so grateful that the community leaders are working with us to make this happen. And we hope this is at least one service that we promise to give you that can be given to you in your areas. If you have any questions, I can answer those.
Yes, Madam President, thank you for your time. I have a quick question here. One of my friends has just sent it to me. There are people who are really in need of to renew their passports, and as far as we know, that those old passports, we've come to understand that they're expired. Since they are sending those people from NERA, or we're having people from the Ugandan embassy, can that services also be included to that? People would love to know what is the status on those who have expired passports, or those who want to have the East African passport. What's the procedure? Or can they be able to also use that opportunity to apply for their passport as well?
Thank you so much, President Haruna. The embassy, I think, was in Cincinnati, not Washington, in Cincinnati during the convention doing that. Remember that in order for these guys to be able to offer these services, they are also given a budget to do so. And I think given this quarter, they came and did that in Cincinnati. So for the passports, they won't be able to do that physically. But the beautiful thing is that you can actually apply for those passports online, like we used to do before. Remember, they had said we are going to do them in person. We made a lot of noise about that and complaints, and they listened to us. And you can do your passport application, either it's reapplication or new East African passport. You can do all that online. Same thing with dual citizenship. You can do that online, and that is on the Ugandan embassy in Washington website. So what we will do is we will also share that link on the flyers that will come out to say for all the other services, go online and do them online, and that is dual citizenship and also passport application.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. One last question regarding what we're talking about is, as far as I know, back in Uganda, when you're applying for a passport, one of the requirements you have to have a national ID. So for people who are not yet in position of having the national ID, as we're in the process of applying for one, can they also be eligible for applying their passport, or they have to wait until they are in position of having those national ID so that they can be able to apply for the passport as well?
I think it is advisable for them to wait for the national ID to get back, because you have now been entered into the Ugandan system. And when you apply for the passport, it's a breeze. It will be very quick for you, because the information that was captured during your ID application is almost the same information that they are going to ask for you during their passport application. So it will be quick and easier for you.
Thank you. I think you have elaborated it well, and there's no any.
Madame Pros had a question.
Yes, Madame Pros had a question, and
if your parents had died,
yes.
Can Musika be denominated as the parent? I would say please have that Musika get a death certificate for you, so that you can have that death certificate given to the people in DC and ask them to help you get that letter of advocacy that you are a Ugandan. Because I doubt they will take someone. For example, Musika in my family, my big brother is just about 5 years older than I am. These are documents that are national, that are considered documents of national security in case someone goes to another country. If someone pulls up that document in the system and it shows that your dad is 5 years old, they'll think it is fraud. No one understands our cultural beliefs. I will understand it, but for example, if you are in front of a Mzungu, he won't understand that. He will think you're lying. So I think the best thing I could do with almost come on family is to tell them, please go get me a death certificate of our parents so that I can have it to the embassy and tell them my parents are dead. Can you please advocate for me as a Ugandan? And here is my birth certificate or my Ugandan passport.
Thank you very much. I think okinyonyodde bulungi era nga President bw'abagambye, we will be passing all the kind of information you might require. Naye nga I will suggest or request all my community members to please go ahead and register for the national ID, more especially those who have the ability to travel back home, those who have projects or those who have things that you're doing back home. I experienced that myself when I could not access my own bank account because I did not have the national ID. So reach out to the leaders you're comfortable with. As I said earlier, you can reach out to Madam Elizabeth Semakula, my Vice President. You can reach out to Mr. Paulo Sembajwe, our General Secretary. You can also reach out to Mr. Dennis Buye, the Treasurer, or myself. Or you can reach out to Madam Susan and her team for information that you require. We are here to give you services, and that's the reason you entrusted us to put us in the office, because you needed the information, and we are the ones who are supposed to bring that information to you. Right now, Mr. Danish abadde ali mu audience, ayina ba client bagezaako okwogera nabo, naye mbali njagala take a breathe, have something, munywe ku mazzi, munywe kachai. We still back tukyali wano until 2 o'clock. For those who have questions and you'd love to know regarding the immigration, please, Mai has been sharing that information in the chat room, and you can also reach out to me. I'll redirect you to the gentleman himself. I've known him for quite a number of years. I have trust and faith in him. He has worked on so many members in our community, and their cases have been very, very successful, that I can testify. So the password is, if you are scheduling an appointment with him, for you to be waived, not to pay for the consultation fee. He usually charges 100 and above, depending. That one will be waived. So you'll have your time with him on one-on-one so that you can be helped. I love to make sure that my people, you get the right information so that you can avoid people abayinza okubanga bajjako sente zammwe baba misleading, and avoid asking people abatalina experience mu kintu kino. When you ask me, nja kubuulira bye nakola back in 2009, ebintu bikyuka. The immigration system changes every period bekyusa, amateeka gakyuka, ebintu bikyuka. So you always need to have professionals to advise. You always need the rightful people. Reach out to me. Bwe mba sina information, I will definitely guide you or direct you to a lawyer that I trust, that I know can help you. And there's some information you cannot share with me as Haruna, but at least you can share that information with the lawyer, and I'm pretty sure the lawyer has the concealed information. So please reach out to your leaders, and I'm in communication with Madame Nairuba. We're also going to have to rearrange another workshop ejja kubanga ekulemberwa oba eri organized by UNA and other local leaders for our people to get the information that they need. Okugeza ababuulidde ku kintu ky'okukyusa state. Let's say you filed your asylum ng'oli Michigan and now you want to come to California. What does that do to my case? Akugambye nti oba ng'oli mu line, oli somewhere, then when you change the state and come to California, that means your case is going to be put back. So for those who are still in the process, I would advise you to stay where you are until your case is closed, until you have had your status. Then you can go to any state you love or you desire, or state of your choice. But as long as you filed your case in a different state, gumikiriza, try to engage your lawyers, try to seek advice from your lawyers until you answered. So, ngenda kuyita mwami Danish achali mu audience abadde alina abantu bayogera nabo abadde bamubuuza, those who attended our workshop this morning at Delano. Naye njagala okwebaza Bishop Robert Kayongo ayatu offerenze the premise of Revival Power Ministries. Njagala okwebaza aba Diaspora Connect abatutadde ku live. They are streaming it live. You can follow them on their Facebook page, you can follow them on their Twitter, you can follow them on their Instagram, you can follow them through the link. We are live on Diaspora TV, Diaspora Connect UG. For what is going on right now, we are live. So, in the meantime, I'm going to call upon the gentleman to come back and maybe answer your questions. And if you have a question regarding the national ID, Madame Nairuba is still with us here, and I can always redirect that question to her as long as she's still with us this evening. This afternoon, East Coast time, ajja kuba abibaddiramu naye nga tugenda kubeera ngenda kuzomeza 22, 23 na 24 tujja kubeera awo ku Rasco Boulevard ne Vanice. Abamanyi office ya mwami Kigoye, Damiano Kigoye, ku mwaliiro ogwokuna 4th floor, suite 400, we tujja okubeera ku ssaawa 3 ez'okumakya up to ssaawa 12, starting from Friday. So have your certificate, have your old passport, have all the document that is required for you to obtain or to be able to apply for the national ID in Nangamuntu. Thank you very much. I also thank my team, the executive team, my vice president, my general secretary, and the treasurer for putting all this together. And I also thank the gentleman as well, Mr. Danish, for sparing his time and be with us here. And I also thank you, the community, because you have come in big number. I see we have people in the audience, and we also have people on the Zoom. And there are so many people as well following the Diaspora Connect TV, UG, on their media platforms. So I'm going to go ahead and request Mr. Danish to come back and be able to answer your questions, that the ones I cannot be able to answer. Thank you very much. Maya, olina ky'otugamba nnyabo? Yes, Mr. Danish is here. Can you? No. I think it was minimized. Oh, sorry. No, can you bring the screen back? Yeah. There. Okay. My good friend, Mr. Danish SHAHBAZ.
Yes.
Right, SHAHBAZ. I said.
Yes, you said it perfectly.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You have to.
Oh, I think they're sharing that.
Because when we put that in, it takes it off.
Oh, okay. Mr. SHAHBAZ Danish is here, is back with us. He has been attending some audience members in the audience with their questions. Now is back with us. So please go ahead and ask your questions. Do we have any question in the chat room or anything to do with national ID? Mr. SHAHBAZ won't be able to answer those questions. I can redirect them to Madam President. anything to do with NOOP, NRM, stuff like that, I might not be in the position of answering those such questions. I see some people have posed those questions in the chat room. We cannot. Mr. SHAHBAZ is here to answer your question regarding the process of the migration, the delays, how do you apply for the travel document, how do you apply for the work permit, how do I apply to reunite with my family, you know, so such kind of things. He's here to help you, he's here to guide you and give you the right information you might need. I saw somebody raising their hand. Hassan, was it Hassan? Hassan, are you still there? Yes, somebody raised their hand and then they disappeared.
So one question I thought that was very important that I was asked by a great man. He mentioned, so remember we talked about how the work permits are delayed and they're taking a very long time. So most people in California, for example, since I practice in California and we're in Los Angeles right now, we have a law called AB 60. So a lot of times in order to get a driver's license, people have to have a valid work permit to get that. But in California, as of 2018, we don't necessarily need that. So in cases where, let's say, you're not able to renew your driver's license because it's about to expire and the DMV says we're not going to renew it, in California, there's a law called AB 60, whereby you're not going to renew that same driver's license. You're going to apply for a new driver's license, and this is basically going to not be based on your work permit. So if you're able to do that, they should be able to authorize you the driver's license, and it's not dependent on your work authorization. So this is a way of getting your driver's license and avoiding the long delays because you have to wait for your work authorization, because you don't want to be driving without your license. So if you can't get your work authorization, I would definitely apply for your driver's license under AB 60. Explain it to the DMV agent that you would like it under AB 60, that you want the driver's license. You know, they're very busy. They're just going to shuffle you around, so make sure that you make it very clear that there's AB 60 law and that you want your driver's license under that.
Mr. Danish, can someone be able to apply for a driver's license well before he has not or she has not obtained the work permit or the social security? Still?
Yes. In California, I can't talk about all states. California, you do not need a work authorization to get a driver's license. You can file it under AB 60 and you will get a driver's license or identification in your name in the state of California. Okay,
so you've had it yourself. Guys, don't drive a car when you don't have a driver's license or in the excuse of saying, I haven't got my documents, so I can drive using my Ugandan's driver's license or my passport. No. There is that option whereby you can get the driver's license even before you don't have your work authorization permit or the social security. So please don't violate that. As I told you earlier, try to avoid things that can what's the word? I failed to say the word, but try to avoid something that might jeopardize your application. Try to avoid anything that you know it will bring troubles to you. Now, Mr. SHAHBAZ, I have a question I would love to ask to pose to you. Back in the days, people would come here. There are some people who came here and they have no proof of how they got here. And they are here, but they can't apply because, you know, when you apply for your asylum or you get married, you have to present your documents. And they don't have such documents. What advice would you give to those such people?
So I think these are people who you're saying did not fly into the United States, right? They probably maybe got to Mexico and tried to cross the border illegally or something like that?
Could be the case. Could be that maybe they misplaced their passports or they found different ways of getting here. But they don't have any document that shows that they are Ugandan. So is there any window such a person can at least be in the system?
Absolutely, you can still apply for asylum, even if you came here without a visa or anything like that.
How did that person,
I don't know what this is.
okay, how would you guide that person or help that person to obtain that?
So if they don't have any identifying documents of who they are, I would definitely send them to the Ugandan consulate to obtain at least a birth certificate, passport, identification documents, so that they have some type of proof of who they are.
Right.
And then as far as like their entry, if they had an entry with a visa and they lost their passport, for example, I hope they maybe have a copy of their the biographic page of the visa. There's a website called I think it's I-94 from the Customs and Border Protection website, and when you apply there or put your biographic passport information, you should be able to retrieve the entries into the United States.
Well, let me just phrase it this way. You know, if someone is running away from troubled countries like, you know, African countries,
Absolutely.
like Uganda, I mean, you have dealt with many Ugandans, you know what is going on anyway. But back in the days, our passport where you could easily change your picture and put mine and travel. So there are cases like that. They are very unique cases. Back in the 80s, those who traveled in 80s and, you know, if you have a visa, I could take away your picture and put mine and get myself in America. So that passport does not belong to me. It belongs to SHAHBAZ. So that person has no record of showing that he or she is here. But how did that person get into the line of the system?
They can still apply for asylum. So if you use false information to get into the country, obtain your visa, change your passport, all of that, I filed waivers for those individuals, explaining that, you know, in order to leave the country, they had to misrepresent or put some other information on there. For asylum, you don't even need a waiver for that. That's an actual, there's case law that supports that. They understand that when you're leaving the country of persecution, that sometimes you may have to provide information that is not 100% truthful in order to leave the country. But if you're applying for a marriage-based case and that's how you enter the country, I would file for a waiver. There's a waiver for fraud and misrepresentation. You would have to show that your spouse or parent who's a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident was suffering extreme hardship. And you would be able to get your green card and get basically pardoned for the action that you did that wasn't honest. But it's about coming here and trying to be as honest as possible about anything that has happened before.
Yes, for any of my community members, you've had yourself, and if you find yourself in such a situation, please seek the advice from Mr. SHAHBAZ himself. I brought it quite clearly that there are people who came here using false travel information, but they need to be in the system. Don't sit back and say, well, I cannot be, you know, I cannot be helped. You can be helped. There are always a way of how you can be helped. But all you need is someone to bring you that information. And Mr. SHAHBAZ is here to give us all that kind of information.
For anybody who's recently arrived, it's very important that you know that asylum, you do need to file within the 1 year of your entry into the United States. It's very important. There are excuses and exclusions, like exceptional circumstances, whereby they will excuse you filing beyond that point. But for most cases, I would always recommend that they file within the 1 year.
Okay. Please send in your questions so that they can be answered. Mr. SHAHBAZ, if someone arrives, let's say this very month, with what is the window for them to be able to apply before their I-94 expires? Or
no, they should. They have literally 1 year to file their asylum application from the date of their entry into the United States. After the 6 months of the ending of their visa validity, they will start accumulating unlawful presence, but they are still eligible for asylum, so they should still do it. So even if it's 9 months, 10 months, it's not 6 months. So it's clearly 1 year that you need to have that application filed.
If someone came here as a student, Mr. SHAHBAZ, what are chances of him transiting from a student visa to change his status for a permanent resident or a citizenship?
So in order to change status from an F1, you need to have a basis. So usually it's marrying a U.S. citizen here in the United States and being able to adjust into a green card.
Okay. You've had that. For those who are here through student visas, there is always a way of how you can change your status. But as I said earlier, you need to have the right people to guide you to go through that. You don't want to fall in a mess because you aren't advised.
Also, there's many people who come on student visas and apply for asylum. That's very common also. It's well understood for asylum law that if you had to come here and you said, I'm coming to USC University and this and that, and you never attended, it's very important. Okay, I need to file for my asylum because I'm fleeing my country.
My fellow community members, I don't want to close this this workshop and then you guys bombard my phone by asking me questions that I cannot answer. Use this moment, use this chance, use this opportunity to ask Mr. SHAHBAZ any question you feel like you'd love to know. So I won't be answering those questions regarding the immigrations because I'm not qualified, I'm not a lawyer, I don't know anything about them. That's the reason I brought this gentleman here today with us. So help me ask your questions, reach out to him. If you feel like you've got the information in the chat room, well and good. Reach out to him, schedule an appointment. He will waive your consultation fee if you have attended this session. Just mention that you are on this workshop, your consultation fee will be waived. And it's not a walk-in, it is just by appointment only. Yes, Mr. Powell.
Thank you very much.
SHAHBAZ, Danish.
Well, I have two questions. One, you talked about education sometime back, whereby if someone has applied or is in the process of getting their asylum done, those people could maybe get a few benefits. Can you try to maybe normalize? Because can someone go into school even when their cases are still pending? For example, someone has never been called, it's been a while. He or she would like to go back to school, but then what would be the window that someone would use? The number two, how long does
Let me answer that first. So as far as education, if you're an asylum applicant, even if you're not an asylum applicant, if you're just undocumented in this country, you can go and apply for your education. I think the question they were asking more about was whether or not they would be eligible for the financial aid. And as far as I know, the FAFSA, it's not clear. I don't think you're eligible for the federal aid, but there are state benefits that I think that they can provide you. But as far as can you go to school, yes, you can and you should.
Okay, thank you very much. Then number two, how long does it take for one to file for the work authorization? That is if maybe it takes long before those people, before they get feedback from my immigration officer.
So when you file for a work authorization, you should receive a receipt within 3 to 4 weeks. It shouldn't be longer than that. They should send you something saying that they've received the money involved, or if there was no fee, that it was a zero balance. But you should receive something within 3 to 4 weeks. It shouldn't be that long. If it takes longer than that, then you might be waiting for a rejection, where they will be sending you a packet back, everything back.
You know, the question is like this, for example, someone has filed for an asylum.
Yes.
Okay, they've taken him for fingerprints or her, you know, he has finished that process. Biometrics. So how long does it take for someone to file for work authorization?
To be eligible
Yes,
for
to
work
be-
authorization. So the law used to be 180 days, but it changed under Trump to 365 days. So after you file your asylum application, you can look at the asylum receipt and see the date of the that it was filed with USCIS. and 365 days from that date, you can file for the work authorization. There are certain class members who, if they were interviewed by an asylum officer upon entry of the United States and they satisfy a few things, they can qualify. There's the ASAP class action, and those people can actually apply still within the 180 days, 150 days actually, and then they can get it. But that requires, there's a couple requirements for that will require that you told an officer upon entry that you were fearing for your country. But it's, right now, the law has changed from what used to be 180 days, it's now 365.
365.
From the date you filed.
Then maybe one last question. I'm the secretary of the community here.
How do you know? Explain. Introduce yourself to him. come close, Paulo. Anyway, why would you be there? So the gentleman needs to know you. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
One, I've received some complaints from some people who are saying that they have gone to school. They were given maybe after school, they were given like work authorization, and then they still have a student debt, a student loan to even clear. But their work authorization expired before maybe they could file for an extension. It's been a while since they tried to file documents to the immigration, and right now as we speak, they don't have any status. So how would you please advise?
How were they originally getting their work authorization?
The first work authorization, the two people I've talked to, they've gotten it like for 2 years.
Did they get it for OPT? Were they F1 visa holders? Did they come here for education?
Yeah, they had come here for education.
Okay, so after, so F1 is a student visa.
Yeah.
A student visa, you're not authorized to work in the United States. After you're done with your F1 status, you can apply for OPT, which is like some type of a job training. And with that, you can apply for work authorization. But after that, OPT, you're supposed to return back to your home country. So after that, that's about it. You should be returning. So if you're not going to be able to renew your work permit, you're just out of status at this time, and you're going to have to find a way to immigrate or try to get your green card here.
Okay.
But basically, your status is over, and you don't have any more authority to remain in this country.
Okay, thank you about that. Then maybe lastly, I've also received a complaint from one of our members in the community, whereby
A question.
Yeah, question.
Because I'm like, well, complaining about what?
Yeah, of course, we receive
We
a
get
lot
enough
of complaints. Yeah, we receive a lot. So it's like this, whereby someone got married with someone for purposes of getting their status. Then in the process, this person doesn't want to file
Of course.
for that person.
Of course, happens too much.
Yeah, to legally be in the US. So how best would you advise that person?
Okay, first of all, don't do it. I get it all the time. I have somebody come and it's usually someone who's not even from their community. A lot of times, like African Americans. So they'll come and they'll get married, or they're planning on getting married. They come to me and I start asking questions right away to the wife and the husband. And are you living together? Are you this? And no, we're not living together. Oh, we love each other, you know. But it's I can smell it, you know. Like you just know they're not together. They're not together, you know. If they're not fighting, you know, or they're not, you know, normal couple, right? So just don't do it. I mean, if you've already gotten involved and filed paperwork, you need to see an attorney, because now you're exposing yourself to marriage fraud, which can have criminal and civil penalties. So it's something to be very cautious about. I know it's very stressful. I know it's difficult to be in this asylum process, or any process for that matter in this country for so long. It's really stressful, frustrating. You want to go visit your family back home. You want to do different things. But I do not encourage or for anything, even if, you know, if it's not love, if it's not you guys are going to be there together, you're probably going to get hurt at the end, and it's going to affect your immigration case. You get in a marriage fraud finding, no one's going to believe you anymore. You've got a big, huge, zero on your case, because now they're going to say, why should I believe you, right? You just showed me, you tried to make this whole show that you're married to somebody, and then this happens all the time, and these people are usually asking you for money. It's just really, really bad. Criminal penalties, civil penalties, you can be fined, but more than anything, you're trying to get legal status here. It's really going to be very detrimental to you. I don't know how to advise you once it breaks apart in the middle. It happens too much. And then what happens is now they're charging you with marriage fraud and saying that you've lied. And the other person is saying, oh yeah, he paid me X amount of money and that's why we got married. So it's a very risky thing. It sounds good in the beginning. It almost always ends up really bad.
I have a question here from the audience. I'm going to try to read it the way the way the person wrote it. It says, do you recommend that a green card holder applies for a child under 21 and not in the US right away, or what until they become a US citizen?
No, file right away for the green card. I can show you the visa bulletin. It's on the National Visa Center website. And if you file as a green card holder, the minute you become a citizen, the category just changes. You just need to notify immigration about the change.
I also have a question which says, what are the consequences of having lied in your case and actually they found discrepancies in your case? How can you defend this at the immigration hearing?
That's pretty specific. We'd have to really get into the discrepancies. I mean, did you lie? First of all, is that stuff not true? A lot of times when you go to the asylum interviews, they will give you the denial, and it's very general always. It's 3-4 pages, and then they say, okay, we denied you because, or they won't say we denied you, right? They never say that. They say we're referring you to the court, but there was material inconsistencies in your application. And that basically means, hey, I said one time that it was June 2015, and then next time I said I was attacked in September 2015. It could be that minor, but they're really nitpicking everything. And so, especially if you file an asylum case and then you don't have the interview for 4 years, it's totally understandable that you're not going to remember every little detail. So, but as far as how to defend that in immigration court, I mean, if you're in immigration court, I rarely see anybody really representing themselves. I really recommend you hire an attorney to assist you in trying to explain why there was a misunderstanding, or why there was some type of inconsistency in your case. Another thing is that now with Biden, we have the opportunity to try to admin close and dismiss our immigration proceedings. So that's something you should definitely discuss that with your attorney, because if you're able to admin close, you can continue to get your work permit. I'm getting cases though that asylum applicants like Uganda, where they're offering them to dismiss their case. And that's something you should definitely talk to your attorney about, because if they dismiss your removal proceedings case, you will no longer be eligible to renew your work permits. So basically you're here just without status. But at least you're not in removal proceedings where they're trying to deport you. So it's something you need to really weigh the benefits and the pros and the cons as far as whether or not you want to go forward and do that.
Okay, I have another question in the chat here. I'm going to read it as the person wrote it. It says, Papa, how can I get it's a
I know who sent it.
You read it.
How can I get a visa for my baby father when we are not married? Is there any way maybe
The father of my baby?
if they are not they are living together, they're staying together,
Yes,
but
yes.
they are not legally married,
Mhm.
and this person wants to get could be the stepson or stepdaughter, whatever, but back in Uganda. Is this something they have to go through? I don't know if this person is legally here or has a citizenship, or I would request you to
Yeah, I think we need
give
more
me
information.
more information of your status, maybe we could be able to answer your question rightly, appropriately, the way you want us to answer you. But there always a way. Yes, she says she's a citizen, but they're not married.
And where is her
The son,
partner?
The partner is in Uganda.
Okay.
Yes.
And they share the son together?
No, they don't share the son together.
Okay, so as a citizen, she can petition him under a K1 visa. That's a fiance visa. And basically, they just need to show that they've seen each other within the last 2 years and that they have an intent to get married in the United States within 90 days. So there is definitely a way. Usually, you know, we want to show some type of engagement. So if you can show an engagement ring or something like that, saying that they're together and that they do plan on getting married here, that would be the best way, I think. If not, the other option is for you to go to Uganda, get married, and then you can file the I-130 so that he can come in as a green card holder.
Okay. Please, I encourage you, if you cannot be directly, send your questions in the chat room, or send your questions to my inbox. If I can read them, I will definitely read them for you, so you can be answered. Remember, we got
We are almost leaving this
we are
place.
almost leaving this place, so please try your best. I'm requesting people not to call me because I might not be in the position of answering your call, but if you text me, I can be able to answer you. Please text me or try to be part of the Zoom conference, or go to Diaspora TV Connect. They are streaming it live, so you can find them. You can find this workshop on all social media platforms of Diaspora Connect UG. Express your question. Mr. Baker Mulumba, you have another question. Please go ahead. We need to iron out all those questions that are burning onto your chest. Please go ahead, if you're still online, to pose your question, and the gentleman will be in the position of answering your question. Thank you. Mr. Mulumba, go ahead.
Maybe as it comes. Maybe as it comes. Does one living United States, maybe for visit, you know, like if they applied and legally gotten documentation which could allow them maybe leave the US, can it affect their immigration? Can it affect their status?
Are they talking about advance parole, like traveling on advance parole?
Yes.
So if they're asylum applicants, they definitely should not return to their home country.
Okay.
But if they do want to travel, I recommend that if it's not an emergency, that do not travel, because at the end of the day, even though you have an advance parole document, they can deny your entry. So if an officer at the port of entry, when you fly into LAX, he will investigate you. He will ask you, hey, where did you go? What did you do? What did you know, why are you coming back? Why did you leave? What was so important? That officer has the right, even though you have an approved of advance parole, he can say, I'm not letting you back in. So
Yes,
there's always a risk. There's always a risk.
I will pose that.
It's not guaranteed.
I will
that
pose
they
the same question that Mr. Paul Chambers asked Mr. Danish. For those who are still on pending cases, or still on your asylum, you have your green card. Remember, when you are filed for your cases, you clearly identify that you ran away from Uganda because Uganda is a troubled country. So if you get a chance to have a parole or a travel document, avoid flying in directly to Uganda, because what Mr. Danish is saying, on your way back, you can be stopped. The officer has the right to stop you at the airport and deny you entry. So
you should also not fly to Nairobi and go through a small border and sneak into Uganda. You shouldn't do any of that.
You shouldn't fly to any country neighboring Uganda.
Not necessarily, but it's always, you know, they're gonna think, hey, well, what were you doing in Nairobi? Or, you know, if you're so afraid of Uganda, right? You say that Museveni, NRM are gonna come and kill you, then you need to, you know, support that. But if you show that, like, you know, they have any type of evidence that or thought that you had some entry back into your home country after you applied for asylum, they could deny your entry, and then also they could just deny your asylum because they're going to have any suspicion that it's not true, right? Because when you apply for asylum, you're saying that your government, you're fleeing torture or murder. You know, they're not they're not granting you asylum because they mistreat, they're discriminating against you a little bit. It's pretty serious stuff that you're claiming that you're fleeing your country from.
Well, there are some simple mistakes we make, and they can result into our denial or delay processing of your citizenship. Mwami Semogere Rebecca azemu waliwo omukyala ayambuuziza nga ayagala kufilinga for their spouse who is in Uganda. Mwami Semogere agambye nti oyo ayagala okuleeta omwami okuva e Kampala mulekeeyo kubanga abaami we bali wano. So please I just wanted to give you a moment. Toleeta mwami wo kubanga abaami we bali wano, noonya mu bana abali wano. Who's this one? Anyway, we're still in this session, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I want to thank you for those who turned in such a big number. We have people in the audience. I also applaud them for coming in. I want to thank Bishop Robert Kayongo for offering his premises to us. I want to thank my good friend, Attorney SHAHBAZ Danish, for sparing his time and be with us. Those 4 hours, Mr. SHAHBAZ would have spared it with his family or do some other things. I know he's very, very, very busy. I want to thank also the Diaspora Connect UG for also covering this event live. For those who are not here with us, please follow in. I want also to thank my own team. The treasurer, Mr. Dennis Buyechizito, is here with me this afternoon. Mr. Paulo Sembadwe, my general secretary. Madam Vice President wasn't able to be with us here because of some few things, but he's with us in spirit. So, as your leader, we will always bring you information that helps you. That is the reason to why you voted us in office. That's why we're here, to provide information. Us being in leadership position, we're not going to promise you building roads, hospitals, or schools. It's just to fetch out the information that you need, especially on the topic we're talking about this afternoon. I have someone by Nampija Karo. Nampija Karo, you are live. Please unmute yourself and ask your question direct to Mr. Danish.
All right, thank you very much for this conference. I have a question. I've been here for like 8 years, but I haven't filed for anything or asylum or marriage. What can you advise?
Well, if you don't have any, I mean, there's many people in the United States without status. If I never advise people to apply for asylum if they don't have fear of returning back to their home country, or if there's no valid marriage. All I can tell you right now is that Biden, you are definitely not a priority for deportation as long as you stay away from any trouble with law enforcement. Biden's really trying his best to if it was up to him, we would have immigration reform. It's not up to him, though. It's the Congress that has to decide that they need to pass legislation to allow people to get their status in the United States, especially all people like you who are working and living here and paying taxes. We have an employment shortage, right? I don't understand, right? We have they don't want to give everybody work permits. So I don't know. I don't know why the government is the way it is. There's a lot of different issues, obviously, with that. Unfortunately, they lump the people who have come in here and have been here for many years with the people who are at the border. That's what the Republicans try to do, to try to make it seem like everybody's coming at the border and trying to cross illegally, which that's a different situation. They're obviously got different problems, but all I can say is that it's not an automatic thing to just think, oh, I'm here, I need to just apply for something. Not everybody's eligible for everything. Maybe you don't have the fear that other people had when they came here, or the persecution. So it really is a case-by-case thing. Sometimes, even though you think, I don't have a work authorization, you are in a better place than somebody who's in a removal proceedings, right? because you've got extra expenses, you've got extra stress, and there's a whole different thing that I'm sure you can speak to many people who are in an immigration process, and how the stress, just to deal with the stress, the money involved, it's taxing. It's very stressful and difficult to be in that situation. So sometimes it's even better to be without anything, you know, as long as you're not getting into trouble. So it really is a case-by-case situation. But all I can advise is, you know, keep researching to see if you're eligible for any type of immigration benefits. And if you want more in-depth consultation, you know, seek out an attorney so you can talk to them and get better informed. But there's plenty of people that I turn away in my office all the time because they're just not eligible. And if you're not eligible, it's better to be without anything than to have something that you're just going to make up.
All right, thank you. So in case I get married to somebody, do I have to explain myself the reasons as to why I've not been like they don't have my details for 8 years?
No.
Oh, okay.
You if you get married to a U.S. citizen, it's for the right reasons, right?
Yeah.
Then there shouldn't be a problem. There shouldn't be an issue about why you haven't filed anything in the last 8 years.
All right, thank you so much.
But also, just to clarify this with Mr. Danish, yes, you're lucky that after 8 years you got married to a U.S. citizen, then you can, you know, proceed with your process. But for someone who wants to apply for asylum, you cannot be in the country for 8 years without applying.
Yeah.
It is not advisable. I would recommend to you guys over there, don't take that long. Seek for advice, look for a lawyer, look for your leaders to advise you. It would be good to apply as soon as you can. So,
you should file. Yeah, yes. It's barred within 1 year unless you have exceptional
circumstances. Yes. So at least overa lucky nti ofumbidwa naye oba tofumbidwa nga you need to apply. They will ask you for all those years, where have you been, what have you been doing, how have you been surviving. So it will apply more questions, and you know you have so much to answer. So I would not advise someone to just stay in the shadow without knowing. And actually you're missing so much. Imagine 8 years if you don't have documents. That means you cannot access so many things.
And the passport might be expired by then.
And exactly, the I-94 and so many things. So please, reach out to leaders so that you can be advised of what to do, where to go, and who can help you. Okay?
I have two issues to raise. One, the issue that you talked about whereby someone can renew their driver's license.
Yes.
We have a lot of cases like that in our community. Maybe you'll just take us through what it takes for someone, because I believe that would be after consultation, but then still there might be a fee into that process, because we have very many people who are having such cases. Someone received a driver's license, and they can't renew. When they go to DMV, they're telling them that issue. So you would maybe advise us.
I'd be happy to give Haruna some documents to show you just the qualifications for AB60 and then how we can talk to it. But I'm actually going to probably work directly with Dennis, and maybe he can be the leader after that.
Yeah, we are working together. Okay.
Also, something I want Mr. Danish to clarify on it. It is the real ID. If you can explain something about the real ID.
What I know about it is, as far as I know, right now the airports still don't require it for at least another year and a half, I think.
They don't.
So there's no need for that. The main thing to get the real ID is, I think, 2 proof of residence.
Okay.
That's all I know of.
Because some people were scared about, you know, there are 2 different types of ID, of the real ID. There's one with the
federal limit, and then there's the one with the state on it. But
yes.
It's still not required for travel for the airport, so I don't know. I don't even have a real ID, so so it's not something to concern right now.
Because
Yeah.
if you have your passport, really, you don't need it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that also depends. We are almost about to close, so please, if you have a question, send it in the chat room. Reach out to me by text. Don't call me because I might not be able to answer your phone. Or ask your question directly. The gentleman is still here with us. We have less than 20 minutes or 25 minutes to close the session. And please go ahead and ask your question if you have one, or you feel like the question you can pose can help another person maybe. Please go ahead and pose that question. Thank you. Paul.
Mr.
SHAHBAZ.
SHAHBAZ. So the name of him. I want to ask, are there some benefits that some of our community members could qualify to get if they're still in the process? For example, someone has not yet gotten a work authorization. You know, he's here, but you know, he has to find means of survival. Are there some benefits, maybe either with the state or with the federal, that maybe you could recommend that we can maybe some of our committee members could benefit for and then go and get some, you know?
Well, one organization that I work with is PTVLA, Program for Torture Victims.
This PT?
PTV.
PTV, yeah, Program for Torture Victims.
Okay.
They do offer some resources to help. Unfortunately, it's not until you get the asylum that you are eligible for like Medi-Cal and different services. So it's it really depends on getting the asylum, which is the hard part, right? Which takes so many years sometimes. But as soon as they get that, they are entitled to some type of medical benefits and also even cash benefits. But usually on the way there, it's very difficult. So I work with Program for Torture Victims, and then when my clients, I work also with USC Medical Center, and I'm able to get them their psychological and physical evaluations a lot of time for torture victims. But I wish I could tell them that there's like something, I think it's just searching for private organizations for the most part to see who can help them.
Okay.
I have a question, but I don't know how to phrase it, but I'm going to read it as it is. Hello, I have got this number from the migration workshop, but I have tried to apply for green card, but I have failed. I don't know what to do. So I really don't know how we can be able to answer you, because it is your question is not understandable. I'm really sorry.
I did them like on chat in the
nziriramu nsobola okutegeera kikyotegeeza kubanga mbutuufu sikitegedde. The question is sikitegeera bulungi, but just to remind you guys, it has been a very successful workshop. Thank you, Mr. SHAHBAZ.
Thank you.
I know we got less than 20 minutes to close this session. For those who have not asked your questions, if you still have them, you have the contact of the gentleman.
And the email.
We have been sharing the email, we have been sharing the office address, we have been sharing the contact number, the office number. It is not a walk-in. Please make an appointment so that you can be able to see him. I also have a lot of business cards which I'm going to pass around for those who made it here, and for those who could not make it, reach out to me. I have the information. I can as well as share that information to you. Always try to avoid people who are going to mislead you. Try to find leaders to guide you. Try to find the right lawyers to give you the rightful information. It doesn't matter where your case is. It could be in the court or being sent to see the judge. Mr. SHAHBAZ Danish can still be able to help you, guide you, fight for you. He has helped a lot of Ugandans, and many of you who are on this chat room, you are actually his clients or her clients. So please reach out to him. He will waive the consultation fee, and in the future, it will depend on the outcome of this workshop. I'll try to see if he can come back again. As I told you, things change periodically. Amateka, laws change. These things are not just standard. They keep changing the laws. So you always need to be updated on the information.
Absolutely.
You need to be updated, but not everybody. Don't ask me, or don't ask your neighbor or your roommate. He might not be in a position to answer your questions rightly, but you need to seek the advice from the rightful lawyers to guide you so your process can be successful. Mr. Mr.
Also,
Shabazz.
I wanted to mention that I know a lot of people are now, once they get their work authorizations, they're getting Uber and they're driving Ubers and Lyfts and things like that. I also do car accidents also, so please feel free to contact me if you have any questions with regards to that.
Yes. What about people who have issues with at their workplaces? Maybe like they need lawyers.
Discrimination, harassment. I can refer them. I'm happy to refer people to different people. Please contact my office, and we'll get you someone who can help you for workers' compensation. So yeah, your employer should not be discriminating or mistreating you, not paying you the wages that they should. I work with other attorneys that I'm happy to refer you to them. But yeah, also, you know, but my office, we do help the Uber and Lyft drivers, passengers, and anybody who's involved in car accidents, because they happen all the time, or even falls at grocery stores, a lot of different injuries.
Yes, you've had it from him. If you have issues, I know many Uber drivers get into a lot of different troubles with clients, with, you know, issues can happen at any given time. And some of you ask for where to go. The gentleman can still help you on that. If you have issues with Uber, they have underpaid you, you got in a fight with a client and they're trying to, or they have blocked you, whatever you could wish to find out, please reach out to the gentleman. He will be able to help. The password is Haruna. Just say, I was in the workshop, or I know Haruna. You will be waived. You won't be paying the consultation fee. And Dennis, you have something to add on to?
Not really much. I just wanted, he pretty much explained what I basically wanted. Now, I know many people had issues with the AB60 process. And just like he said, I'm going to contact him for more information about that and the practical way of how to handle that, and can take it from there.
Well, again, I cannot stop thanking.
Someone is asking what are the contacts for appointments?
The contacts for appointment, they are in the chat room. The email, the number for the office, and the address as well. But I'm going to ask him to.
If they came in late, I think.
For those who came in late, let's try to read it for you. Okay, the office number is 213-250-2210. 213-250-2210. Eri biri emu satu, biri tano 0, biri biri emu 0. That is the contact number at the office. And then the address is at 163 South Avenue, 24, Suite 202. That is in Los Angeles. You can still go and find him. And also the email, let me see, the email is danish@shahbazfarm.com. So please write down. The email is danish@shahbazfarm.com. The number to call is 213-250-2210. Address is 163 South Avenue, 24, Suite 202, Los Angeles, California. Zip code is 90031. You will be there. So please don't just walk in. You won't be seen. And I don't want you to waste your time, drive down there without an appointment. Please call the office number for an appointment, or send an email so you can be reserved for an appointment. The gentleman is quite busy. He's always in court. He's always meeting clients and so forth. So don't just think that you're going to walk in and get a chance to see him. I don't want you to be disappointed. Send an email to this email, danish@shahbazfarm.com, or call 213-250-2210 for an appointment. Or the address will be 163 South Avenue, 24, Suite 202, Los Angeles, California, 90031. Thank you very much. As we're winding up, Mr. Shahbaz is also sending you the website. You can also go on the website and read about him. that will give you, in America, we all goes by reviews. So you can also go to his website, which is shahbazfarm.com. You can find out about himself, about his work, about his colleagues and everything. So go to the email, which is shahbazfarm.com. My appreciation goes to Bishop Robert Kayongo for offering us the premises to be able to pass this wonderful information to you, my community members. I also thank Diaspora Connect UG for broadcasting this live to those who are far away from us or for those who are in different states. As I said, I'm not by myself. We arranged this as an office with my colleagues, Paulo Sembadje, the Secretary General, and my good friend here, Dennis Chizito Buye, the Treasurer of the community, and Madam Vice President Elizabeth Semakula. I also thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for such a great workshop. We have pulled it out. We have had so many attendees to it, and we're looking forward to the other one to come. I also want to remind you, my fellow community members, on the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, we're going to be registering for national ID. National ID, I'm talking for the Ugandan national ID, not the California national ID, just to clarify on that. We will be registering for national ID, the Uganda Indangamuntu. We call it Indangamuntu. Yes, so it will be on Rasco and Vanice, Suite 400 at Mr. Chigoye's office. For those who know Mr. Chigoye, our former president, please note that date and time. We will be starting at 9 to 6 p.m. starting on Friday this very month. Just remind you, what you should have with you is your birth certificate, your old passport, a recommendation letter from your parents, or if your parents are deceased, you can get that letter from the LC. I have a question before we close up. The question probably is coming from Semogere Rebecca. Please unmute yourself. Use this chance to ask whatever question you want. We have less than 10 minutes to close. And Mr.
Yes, I can take on clients that are not in the state of California for immigration. For accidents, I wouldn't, but for immigration, it's federal law, and I have clients not from all 50 states, but at least 3-4 different states, and I do represent them, yes. And we can talk about that later on. I'd be happy to talk to you. Feel free to send me an email.
Yes, Mr. SHAHBAZ can also represent you. It doesn't matter which states you are in, he can work with you. He is able to practice his services whenever you are. Just shoot him an email and he will be able to give you more details on that. Mr. Samogere, please unmute yourself and shoot your question to Mr. SHAHBAZ. Mr. Samogere has failed to unmute. Is there any way you can unmute him? Who? Mr. Semogere Baker. Yes. Can you unmute him? Yes, you have the microphone, I guess. You can go ahead and ask. No? Well, we have technical difficulties. Let's see, what is Patience Kwijuka? Patience Kwijuka, do you have a question? Hello? Okay. I think, Mr. Semogere, we have failed to unmute you due to technicalities. Could you please shoot your question in the chat room, or can you call my number? It's 818-518-6852. Maybe we can answer that question. Mr. Semogere. Okay, Mr. Muonge Mgaga, do you have any question? Mr. Muonge has no question. Thank you. Banang, we are about to close. I'm going to give the mic to Mr. Danish SHAHBAZ for his closing remarks, and then we'll be closing our session. I guess you've had all the contact information to Mr. SHAHBAZ. For those who would love to meet him one-on-one, the chance you have that he will waive the consultation fee if you mention the Ugandan workshop, immigration workshop.
Hakim is raising up.
Okay, Hakim Mogezi, please go ahead and unmute yourself so you can shoot your question. Hakim, can you please unmute yourself? What is going on? Well, I think we're having technical issues here, and we are not good.
Failed to unmute.
He failed to unmute himself.
Type. Can he type?
Yes, you can type. We have less than 5 minutes. We're going to close, and I will be giving the mic to Mr. SHAHBAZ to give us his closing remarks. And I cannot stop thanking you, Mr. SHAHBAZ, for accepting my invitation. It has been a wonderful class to my community. And just to let you know, we've had a lot of different states, people tuning in. It's not only in California. I've had people from Chicago. I've had people from North Dakota. I've had people from Boston and other neighbor, Washington. So New York as well. So I hope we can also rearrange this. I'll reach out to you sometime to your office and see
happy to do that.
if you have time so that you can come. Our people are yearning for such information. So they need to get the right people. So thank you very much for honoring that invitation and be with us this morning. I know you left your home too early to get here. And actually, he got here before even myself. You can imagine, I invited him, but he got here before me. But at least it was 5 minutes. I was here with him as well after 5 minutes.
So Senator Rebecca said he failed to unmute.
But what is the
Tuning
question?
in from Uganda, so he didn't ask.
Okay, Semogere is tuning in from Uganda. You can imagine we're also having viewers from Uganda.
The network is not.
So the network is the problem. But again, I want to thank you people. And I want to thank you so much for everything you have, put aside and be with us this morning, this afternoon, this evening, wherever you are. I know in Uganda it's very late in the evening, could be night time. But I'm going to pass the mic to Mr. SHAHBAZ to tell us anything you want, as we're closing down this session.
Well, thank you, Mr. Haruna, for having me. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. I really appreciate all the questions. I love working with the Ugandan community. It's a pleasure of mine. I look forward to having more events like this, and so that we can get more information out there, and make sure that everybody's needs are being taken care of.
Okay, Sarah Nakanwaji, I don't know where you're calling from, but you have a question. You're live. Can you please go ahead and pose your question?
Yes, I wanted to know whether we have rights in America, because we tend to face a lot of challenges, things like discrimination, or Americans who are born in America telling us to go back to Africa and all that. So that's the question. I wanted to know whether we have rights.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, Sarah. Thank you for the question. And you, like everyone else in this country, has a right to be here. I mean, I know the immigration system is a little complicated, and whether or not, but if this government doesn't want someone here, then they have to put you in the proceedings, and you need to notice, and there needs to be proper procedures for by which they need to, if they would like to take someone out, that they would. Biden is not looking to do that. He's looking only to take out people who are violent criminals, people who are dangerous. So as long as you're not one of those persons, then, I wouldn't be worried that this country's going to try to remove you. As far as harassment and mistreatment, you have a right to call the police. If someone's mistreating you, harassing you, threatening you, you need to call the police. You need to protect yourself. If you're in an employment situation that's not being treated right, you have the rights also to go after your employer or the people who are mistreating you. So you should, especially in California, Los Angeles. It's a completely community. It's an immigrant community. So I'm very sad to hear that people talk to you like that or have said things like that to you. That's completely inappropriate and wrong, and it doesn't endorse the values of this country. So
maybe just before you close on that, I know some people may feel like because their status has not been completed yet, like calling the police, like they may have a fear, like they might ask them about their status, immigration status. But can you clarify on that? If someone is you're reporting a case against discrimination, they don't have to question your immigration.
So I'm going to say this more about Los Angeles and California, because the police in different states do act differently, and sometimes they do report you to immigration. But as far as California, Los Angeles, you need to report any crime that happens to you. There is something called the U visa. The U visa is for people who have been victimized of a crime. Not all crimes are listed on there, but domestic violence, if you've been a victim of domestic violence, it's listed. Felonious assault, any sexual battery, sexual assault, kidnapping. I mean, there's a list on the USCIS website whereby they list all the crimes for which, if you were a victim of a crime, there's a way for you to, if you cooperate, call the police, cooperate, inform them everything that you need to testify. There is a way for you to get your green card eventually. First, you get the U visa, but then after that, you will get the green card. If you are in a relationship with a U.S. citizen or a resident, and there's extreme cruelty, there's the Violence Against Women Act. That can also be a benefit for some people who have been mistreated by their U.S. citizen or resident partner, and that goes for people who are in heterosexual relationships as well as people who are in homosexual relationships. So I if anything, I hope you guys feel a little bit more empowered and feel that I don't have to be mistreated in this country. Remember that you're not in Uganda. There's not the same type of corruption that's going on. And just to keep informed, look it up on Google, talk to an attorney. There's a lot of resources out there to help people, and I'm happy to be a part of this community. I feel like I am a part of the Ugandan community. I've been working with the Ugandans for many time. I love the samosas. But yes, it was a pleasure. It's an honor for me that you guys would invite me to such an event. I appreciate always. I'm very humbled by the fact that you guys give me so much praise. Sibu Bulunji, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you. And that being said, I think we've come to the conclusion of our session. It has been a wonderful time to be with you, everybody, from wherever you are. And thank for the technology that someone can be in wherever they are, in their bed, in their sitting room, in their different states, but still you don't miss any information. As I said, I want to thank each and every person who participated in this so that it can be as successful as it has been. And I thank my team, my vice president, my treasurer, secretary, and everybody. Thank you, Mai, for putting up this Zoom. It was, the last minute thing, but you managed to pull it out. Thank you, Diaspora Connect TV, Diaspora Connect UG, and thank you, Bishop Robert Kayongo, for offering us venue all the time whenever we need it. I thank the crew, Mr. Alan, who is on the cameras, and all the crews of Diaspora Connect UG. Please, you can still follow us on that live stream. You won't miss anything. And if you need anything, please, the communication, we have put it down in the chat room. The contacts are there. Please go see Mr. SHAHBAZ. You'll be helped. I'm pretty 100% sure that you will be helped. For those who managed to make it in the audience, thank you so much, Madame Pros Musoke. Thank you so much, Mr. Salongo, Joseph Baleke, and everybody who managed to get to this place and get to hear first-hand information. That being said, I'm closing. Bye-bye for now, and see you next time. Don't forget, the national ID will be 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of October. I'll be passing the information as well. Bye-bye for now. Thank you.